What's good?
Okay.
All right. Oh,
It's
you
on,
know,
yeah. We're
yeah,
live.
we're live. But we also have Jacob just joined.
Oh, nice.
All right. So this is Cucks for Christ. We have a special guest, Peter Bednarski, and we're so excited to have you. We should have started over 30 minutes ago, but I had too much sushi, so that's my fault. How you doing, Peter?
Doing pretty good. Didn't have too much sushi, unfortunately.
I
But
know.
That's good. Jacob, we just started recording, just so you know.
Cool.
Okay. So, Peter, tell me a little bit about yourself and your journey. When did you join the Legion?
Give us your dating
And
profile.
yeah, and give us your
no way.
what hospital you're born in, your
Your
social.
Tinder bio.
Oh, your Tinder bio.
Well, I think I joined when you did, James. Well, no, maybe the
A
year
year
before you
early.
did.
Yeah.
But you had been at that first summer program, right? But you
Yeah.
just couldn't. So I joined in like 7th grade at ICAS in New Hampshire, and then I was there for 4 years, and then luckily graduated high school, and then left the Legion. So it was nice to have graduated from high school. I still have like nightmares about not having graduated and just being like, I need to get the fuck out of here. But not too often, and it's not really a nightmare. It's just like a funny dream. But yeah, it was 4 years, so I wasn't in there for as long as some other people I know. I've been like listening to some of the podcast episodes and like obviously keeping up with some people that I know were in it for a lot longer. But it was still a gnarly. I mean, it was a gnarly 4 years. Like, and a young age too. I was like 11 when I personally joined, and then graduated at like 16. Um, and then it's been a long time since then. So it's been like 13 years out, I guess. And well, I guess, yeah, since that time, went back home, just like worked and did a little bit of school, and then dropped out of school. And now I'm back in school. So I'm trying to finish a degree and at Portland State. And I live in Portland now, which happened about 10 years ago. But
Where's your family live?
my mom lives here in Portland. That's actually kind of why I moved out here. My mom, stepdad, and sister and I moved out. My sister moved to Arizona a couple years ago. I have yet to visit, but I'll probably make it down to Arizona sometime soon. And then my dad lives in Michigan, but we will meet up in California usually because his brother lives out there. So I have some extended family in California. Um, and I haven't been back to Michigan in like 10 years, which is a little weird. But I guess kind of, being in New Hampshire, I kind of lost connections from when I was a kid. So I don't really, besides like aunts and uncles and cousins, but some people are spread out anyway. So it's like, yeah, I haven't been back to Michigan in a long time. But I want to go back soon. But
Because that was
yeah.
home for you for a while.
Yeah, that's where I was born, where I grew up,
Yeah.
around Detroit. And then, but I guess now, if you added it up, I've probably lived outside of Michigan longer than I lived there.
That's a weird thought.
Yeah, I had that thought a couple years ago.
Yeah, because to me it's like, oh, Peter Bednarski's Michigan boy.
Well, and I feel like that. I definitely
Yeah.
still feel that. Like it's a strong part of my identity for sure. I just gotta go back. I miss I remember when I left school, afterwards I'd hung out, I'd met up with Peter Martin and Joe Allen and I think even Kevin Leahy briefly. But then I think he moved up north or something. But anyways, yeah, I but then moving out to Oregon, I kind of, lost touch with those guys. Um, but
Do you feel like Oregon has changed you in a lot of ways? Or
I think I don't know. It is weird because yeah, I do feel I identify with Michigan a lot, but I like Portland. I mean, I like the nature out here is just insane, like the
oh
mountains. I think it was like a lot of the appeal for all of us in New Hampshire was like the mountains and the
yeah,
hikes
Yeah.
and that is definitely present out here. I mean, there's just like it's almost too extreme. Like I can't climb. Like some people climb these like fucking glacier mountains, and I'm like, I don't go that extreme. But
yeah,
I do love to like go to the river, swim, like go to the beach. The ocean's out here. Um, I think I definitely have my favorite spots out here, but I don't know. I also feel like I would kind of just settle in wherever I ended up, but I do like it out here. Um,
that's awesome.
the, yeah, the city life might have changed me a little bit because now I'm kind of just used to living in the city, whereas I feel like back in Michigan and certainly New Hampshire, I was used to like being in a more rural like environment. But
Mhm. And you came out to visit. I don't know if you remember. It was a while ago. Do you remember coming out? I forgot
yeah,
how a year it was.
yeah, that was shortly after.
Yeah, that was like
You mean
2011, maybe.
I think did I stayed at your house, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because I remember we went to New York City for a day.
We got lost.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was fun. That was my only time I've ever been to New York City.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah, really.
Oh, okay.
I've been, yeah. I mean, I've been to like San Francisco multiple times and Los Angeles. So, but that was my only time that I've ever been to New York City, and it was still pretty special. I enjoyed that, but that was like pretty fresh out of leaving there because I just yeah, it was a special time. I just didn't have any friends like back home, so it was like coming back to New Hampshire, and so I guess the school was still functioning.
Yeah, I think it was at the time.
Okay, because I think
Nice.
we might have stayed there, right?
Oh,
Did
Or
we? Yeah, we might
I,
have.
maybe
I
you
don't know where
repressed the
else.
memory, James.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know where else we would have stayed. It was definitely some sort of reunion. Like I
Hmm.
remember, yeah, I think I was not.
Maybe. Okay, that's maybe what happened. You came out and then we went to the city and then we went up. Oh
Oh
gosh.
fuck, I don't. Well, it
Don't
was
remember.
almost like it, it was
It's like
almost
The
like visit.
Hangover.
Kind of. I didn't remember until you said something just now, James. Actually, I forgot about that. But it was like visiting the school pre-joining, but post. And it was. I remember like I don't know. I just like remembered Peter Yip all of a sudden, like smoking a cigarette and like offering me one. And like
The fuck?
I forgot about him completely until just now. But
Yeah.
and I think Joe Allen was there. It was definitely we were like out. We were like in the world, but we came back
Right.
to
Was
reunite.
I think Stephen Lombardo was there too, if I
Yeah, I
remember.
think you're right. Yeah, I think
And
you're right.
I know Peter Martin was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. This is coming back to me now. Yeah, this was like
Yeah.
2010,
A lot of
2011.
Michigan boys hung out there then.
There was a Michigan crew.
The Michigan cruise always strikes me as like country a little bit. Like I feel like they could easily live in like middle of Texas too. The way they
Probably.
like behave, like all the at least the ones I met in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
That was the vibe I got, which is pretty cool.
I've had like just like in a separate instance, like I remember telling somebody I was from Detroit and she was like, "Oh, everyone I know from Detroit is loud, but you're quiet." And I'm like, "It's true. I'm still pretty quiet." But yeah, I don't know. I guess I could see you getting that vibe for sure.
I just hear about crime and Ford and GM. That's about as much as I know about Detroit.
That's probably that's probably the top three things.
I'll probably be visiting Detroit for because I'm getting a new job where I'm going to be working with Ford, so that should be a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, I want to go back and visit. I've heard it has changed a lot since I lived there or in that area. But yeah, I miss the guys back there. I still have to listen to the Joe Allen podcast. I don't think I've listened to that one yet.
That was fun. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. That was fun. We need to get more Michigan people on too.
Yes. We should have one for just Michigan folks. Just bring them on.
Just bring them on.
Yeah.
Call the glove episode.
The glove. The mitten episode, maybe.
Yeah. I haven't seen the Michigan people in a while. I think Joe Allen's the last person I saw from Michigan. But good times. What was your favorite hike? Because you mentioned hikes, and I remember you on hikes a lot, just being like, cool,
just loving it.
Yeah, and it's like being optimistic. I'm like, oh, he likes these hikes.
It's good for him. It's good for him.
It's good for him. It's good for him to get out.
Just let him run around a little bit. He'll be fine.
Give him some sunlight.
Yeah. Yeah, it's real though. It's true. I definitely loved the fucking hikes. I think Lafayette was a tough one, and it was good, and it was tall.
Yeah,
and I think I really liked that one.
I think that one was harder for me than Washington.
Yeah,
I never ended up going up Washington. But
oh, really? Oh.
Yeah.
What happened?
Interesting.
Because I think we did in Canada. Oh, you didn't go back to Canada, see?
Oh no, that was kind of weird actually. I had all my stuff in New Hampshire because I planned to go back, and had the flight to go back, and then it was a gnarly summer because my grandpa had died right during that summer, right as we were graduating. My grandfather died. He lived right across from us, across the street, and so we were just he was just like a big part of our family. I mean, I know grandparents in general, it's sad when they pass away, but this was pretty just earth shattering, I think, for our immediate family. And so it was a very dramatic summer. It was a little bit of the only way, and I was pretty far in it as far as mentally committed to doing the candidacy and the novitiate and everything, and the only way that my mom got me to come back home was to be just come back home for a year, and then you can go do whatever you want. Needless to say, in that year, I just a lot of mental shifts happened, and I didn't end up going back. But it was weird because I called Father David, and he's like, well, if you're not going to come back, we're just going to ship your luggage. And I was like, well, I have the flight. I was just thinking of maybe flying back to New Hampshire, saying goodbye to everybody, and then my family was going to drive out and then do a road trip back. He's like, nope, we'll just send your luggage.
Oh my gosh.
It was so shocking and so I couldn't say goodbye to the people I had spent the past 4 years with. It was just very weird to be cut off like that. And then yeah, I kind of forgot about that, but yeah, that was pretty earth shattering.
Did that factor into not going back as well? Man, they don't even.
I think what happened was obviously I went to the reunion, which James had mentioned, which was good to get a little bit of closure. Definitely met up with some guys who were around where I was living in Michigan. I think the thing of not going back was I pretty quickly after being back home just dropped even the whole Catholicism religion thing. I remember coming back home and just going to church by myself because I realized my family didn't do that. They were just
not many do.
Yeah, they were just oh, that was your thing. And I was oh, word, okay, and so I just went by myself to church for like a few months. I think I lasted a few months, and I think I was just like, what am I fucking doing? Like,
You didn't persevere?
definitely did not persevere. But I'll say this though, I remember having doubts about religion while I was still at the school at the very end. My religious journey was probably a little bit different from other people's in the sense that I wasn't baptized as a Catholic until I was like 10. Um, and for that reason, they weren't even going to accept me to the school. But that was another weird thing when I was like 11 and I was going to go into seventh grade. And they were like, no, like, give him a year. Like, he just was baptized, like, you know. And then my mom thought that I really wanted to go and just like was like, he really wants to go. And basically just like persuaded them to accept me. So it was, so that was a little bit weird. But then, yeah, so my religious experience was exactly pretty much as long as my ICAS legionary experience. So right after I left that school and got back to the world and just kind of was like, oh, like this wasn't my worldview for much of my life. But even like I said, I remember being at the school, being in mass and just like doubting the Eucharist, like Christ in the Eucharist. I was like, what if it's not? What if it's just bread? And that was like the first like inklings. And then the whole like Maciel stuff came out and there was more just like, you know, kind of cracks in the facade. Yeah, it was just like, it was a very, very like, you know, your worldview is I kind of lost my train of thought, but I think it kind of stopped anyway. So
If it's not too personal, why did they wait to baptize you just for
oh no, it's cool. I mean, yeah, well, we're here to talk about personal stuff. It's fine.
That's fair.
I my family, like my mom, dad, and stepdad, like their families were all traditionally Catholic, but just kind of like very like kind of superficially, kind of just like, oh, this is what we do as like a cultural thing. Um, but my stepdad's parents were like super into it, in a way that nobody else I knew was. But they like had, we stayed with them basically for a summer, and they kind of just, I think we were at that age. My sister, I say we because my sister and I were a year apart, and I think we were just I at least was at this age where I had a lot of questions about things, and they were people I trusted, and they were kind of like, well, this is how things are, and I was like, okay, well, nobody's telling me any differently, so. And my mom was kind of just like, oh yeah, we'll support whatever you want, and I'm like, okay, well, so you're not saying anything different. These people are saying this is for sure true. And it was also, it boiled down to like the whole like yeah, it's fine. Yeah, you're good, thank you. um it boiled down to the whole like fear of hell thing, honestly. It's like, oh shit, I don't want to go to hell, like um
Yeah,
but
that would suck.
and when you're like 10 years old, you're like, oh, what do I got to do to not have that happen? And
Yeah,
then it's, well, get baptized, do this, do that, be a Catholic. And then um that's why that happened at that age. It's a little bit
okay.
weird, but
I never knew that about you, that you were
yeah,
baptized that late.
yeah, it's I don't think I talked about it a lot. I don't,
No, because it would have been
yeah.
embarrassing, probably. It shouldn't have been, but it would have, like, to me, I would have been embarrassed because you have
It
all these
was,
homeschool people who are Catholics from before they were conceived.
yeah, I don't even know. I don't know if it was embarrassing or just never came up, or I don't know. I don't really know.
Yeah.
But I do remember telling that story at one point, like, and just kind of getting emotional. And so maybe that's why I didn't talk about it, because I had some just like, it was hard for me to talk about. I don't really
Mm-hmm.
know. But
And how did you meet the Legion? Or how'd they find you?
Everest Academy in
Oh,
Pristine.
Clarkson, Michigan. Yeah. That was when I went there.
Robert. Did you have Father Robert DeCaesar
Oh,
or Father Matthew Van Schmornberg?
these names are maybe familiar. This was a long time ago.
Or something. I know.
Yeah. I remember like Father Alphonse, Father Gomez, like
Father
these are
Gomez.
names that I remember.
Yeah,
Yep.
Alphonse, hell yeah.
He was kind of cool. I think he like left the Legion, huh? Probably.
He's a diocesan now. Yeah, we met him when he was a diocesan priest.
Yeah.
Father Alphonse. Yeah, I feel like that guy fucks.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
in a good way. Like
literally has sex with people. Like
Well,
I feel like he does.
Consensual.
Not like kids. No, I feel like it would be consensual. Shout out Father Alphonse, good guy.
We just said
Yeah,
breaks his vow of celibacy.
Yeah.
In a good
know.
way. In a good way.
In a good way.
I mean, it's the best way possible.
Yeah. I don't yeah. I don't know anything about him since those days. So
Yeah.
but
Was Father
anyways,
Gomez the crazy one?
I think people said that. Yeah. I think people said that.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
So
I never met him.
Well, anyways, yeah, Everest Academy was a little bit weird. I'm not really sure why me and my sister went there exactly. I think my mom was just kind of trying to like get us a good education and like something, and they kind of like advertised that. And then that was just kind of like a funnel into like ICAS, etc. And then I was just kind of like, I don't know. It just seemed like it appealed to me at that age, at that time. I think I was like pretty blown. I was just like excited to like get out of Michigan and like just new exciting things. And honestly, like to be honest, I didn't even know that we had that much time apart from family when I joined. That was like a weird thing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I didn't really know that was the deal. And then it was just that game of like, well, I'll just do it for a year. And then after a year, it's like, well, I'll just do it for another year. And then I'll go home and go to high school. And then it's like now, but by that time I was like kind of, I guess like brainwashed, or whatever, just like in it.
Yeah.
And
well, you'd been in it for, you were in it for 3 years before high school. You were in it for 5 years total, right? 7th, 8th, 9th,
7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade,
junior, senior.
Yeah, and then I guess if you're saying high school is 2 years, yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, high school, 9th grade.
Oh wait, was it? Oh, so it was 5. Oh, I kept saying 4 years. No, it was.
Yeah, you cut yourself short
of being there.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know why I always think of it as 4 years. Anyways, so yeah, 5. Wow.
Yeah, you
5
dude,
years.
I've made that mistake too. I'm like, wait, how the fuck long was I in there again?
Yeah. So, but yeah, a wild ride, a pretty random course of events. Like honestly, that I ended up there.
Yeah.
Probably not like your typical, like homeschooler or super Catholic family, big family. None of that. I mean.
Yeah. So, what was like your first impression when you see like everybody waking up and running around and shit?
Wait, what?
Your first impressions of like the students and stuff, since you didn't come from that kind of intense background, like was it jarring?
Well, I mean, I don't think anyone grows up like waking up and making their bed and running to the fucking shower. I don't know. Fair. Like, does anybody? Or I don't know. But I don't know. I can't really remember my first impressions. I would just say, to me, it seemed just like a big adventure. It just seemed very like, but like the place itself is fucking beautiful. I mean, the mountains, the lakes, is like, oh, you'll study all these things and learn a bunch of stuff. And it was like, and I really was a pretty smart kid. I liked learning. and was just like so fresh to the religion thing. I was very like into it. If there's a way that makes sense. So I was just like, oh, this is just like what you do. Like, and I don't know. I was also like 11 years old. So I was just like, oh, this is like what's happening. Like we were like babies. Like when you look at like these pictures of like me and like Stuart Mast and fucking Zach, Gregor, and like, James, we're just like these little kids. Like we're so tiny.
It's true.
But like you said, it's like it's what we do. Like, oh yeah, this is definitely what we do when you want to be a priest. You just go to a school and like
I mean, it was weird, but it quickly, since I think I was so young, it just quickly became normal for me. And I mean, like the entire time my dad thought it was a terrible idea and tried to get me to come back home, but like he just couldn't, because my parents were divorced, and like he just couldn't do much. But it was a weird, like it was weird all around.
Yeah, it's funny though, because you always struck me as pious and grounded.
Grounded is a good word. Yeah. I thought grounded too. You seemed like chill.
Yeah, like, oh yeah, he's got this. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, I was like, man, I wish I had that kind of confidence. Like
people still say that about me, and I just feel like I may appear that way on the outside, but I feel that way a good amount of the time, but definitely not all the time.
Yeah.
But I definitely took it seriously. I would say I definitely like stayed in my lane, in the sense that like all this shit that came out afterwards, I was like, I had no idea really that any of this stuff was going on. Like I just kind of was like, did my own thing, but I guess that's a different topic. But yeah, I guess I remember feeling grounded because I felt like I was doing what I should be doing. And I think another aspect of that whole thing was there's that aspect of like, you're like, oh, this is what I should be doing. And so there's a sense of peace that comes with that. I think that's like what attracts people to religion in the first place, where it's like, if you have this chaos of like not knowing what you're supposed to do with your life, and it's like, oh, this is it. This is what I am supposed to be doing. But I definitely felt very serious about all of it. And I took it I mean, I don't know. There were ups and downs. How seriously
could we? Yeah.
But I feel like now as a person, I take everything way less seriously.
Yeah.
In a good way. Like if anything, that experience has taught me, like, there's nothing that's that life or death usually.
Especially when older men are telling you as a child that it's very serious and that you need to take it very seriously. And this is all very serious stuff. We're saving souls here.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's
do you remember Saving Souls? That was pretty cool. They were like, do this for souls. And you're like, yeah. I don't know.
Take a cold shower for souls.
Yeah, take a cold shower for souls. Do your housework for souls or something. I don't know. Just everything was like, we're doing it for souls. And it's like, okay. What about our own? Like,
there was a lot of just like abstract things that were just like, oh, this is real and true, but it's like such an abstract, like non-real thing. I guess that has just like taught me that like any kind of ideology or whatever is like exactly just, it's just thoughts, like, not to get too abstract, but
yeah. Is there something that you found now that like, since you went from that world of control and stuff, like in the chaos of life, have you found something that kind of grounds you now, or something different that kind of grounds you in place of religion? Or
I mean, I would honestly say just like normal stuff, like nature is still a big part of it, like going out on like I said, like listen to these podcasts. I'll go out on a hike and I'll just listen to that stuff. Like it's kind of a good place and like a safe place, I guess, to just like process and like, um, I mean, it's just like, it does make you calmer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it just connects you to like this is real, like this is reality. I mean, I think a lot of like our man-made society and world, it kind of runs away from us. Like it's pretty bizarre a lot of times. And not that nature isn't, but just like, I don't know. I guess I would say that, like just making sure I'm like exercising. I don't know. I kind of forget.
Yeah.
Oh, replacing religion. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really feel the need to have I think for me it was being a child and needing like somebody to guide me. And that was the guidance I found. And I think now it's like, okay, I have this worldview that is also like a fundamental part of it is that there's nothing I know for sure, or just like knowing the nature of how much you can know stuff, and like I don't really feel like I need religion or anything similar.
Yeah, I get a lot of when I tell people that too, I get a lot of like, oh, so you're your own God, as if like I'm this very vain person that's like seeking my own way, and um, as if that's a bad thing to be doing that, trusting myself. And
So are you three are not religious, I'm guessing, anymore?
Yeah, no.
not so much.
We try not to be too over the top with it on the podcast to try not to alienate people.
Yeah.
But we also, let people describe what they're doing, and then we will come in and say like, we don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've been religious for a while.
Yeah. I mean, and I know it's a touchy subject, especially like I don't know like what your audience exactly is like, etc. I just and especially it's interesting for me, like the people I interact with just in my daily life now are just not typically religious. And so that just part of the equation is not really something I run into a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
But I know, if I had family who were, well, I have an uncle. It's funny, like over the last summer, my dad and uncle came out to Oregon to visit, and my uncle is like very Catholic. And it
Oh,
was
really?
interesting to like have some conversations, especially where you get to more like abstract topics. And for him, everything comes back to like Jesus and like, religion and stuff. And it was like, oh, that's very interesting to just like observe that. And that's not my life like anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm not, I don't know, not nothing against. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna like judge people if they need that or whatever. It has just been. But I have talked to people who kind of have also been like raised religious and have since broken out of that. And I'm like, no, I understand. We have that in common. Like we're,
Mm-hmm.
I know what that's like.
How many people have you told or relayed your high school experience to?
Not a whole lot, honestly.
Yeah.
So this is actually, I was pretty happy to like come on here and chat about it, I guess. And I'm definitely happy that you guys are doing the podcast, because it is like a nice like processing, and especially because I'm so far and I don't see like any of you guys at all. It's a nice like processing thing. I think it's healthy, like to actually talk about it, because yeah, going back to your question, I don't really I've gotten more comfortable, I think, as I get older, to mentioning it, to not like, I won't lie, like if somebody asks me, I'll be like, oh, like, are you ready for this? Like like this is like, what happened, but I don't get into details either, because I think just for people who are completely removed from the situation, it would be, I'd have to like sit you down and tell, like,
Yeah.
describe to you in detail all this stuff. And, even then, like, I don't know if people would really understand. Um, but I feel like I'm a little more apt to open up a little bit more to people who were in similar situations.
Mhm.
Whether it's like, Christianity or like, I guess mainly that. But,
Yeah.
yeah, so no, not a lot. And I think it's, as time goes by, like I'm in my late 20s now, and you kind of get away from people asking where you went to high school, and you just like, life has kind of gone on a little bit to the point where it just doesn't come up as often.
Mhm.
Yeah, it doesn't. And
Yeah.
when it
Yeah.
does come up, I like when I find those people who obsess over high school, like they're like, oh my God, yeah, I was like really good at sports back then. I was like the shit. I'm like, all right, that's cool. Cool,
Yeah,
bro. Cool story.
yeah. I feel that too. Like, in the sense that I'm like, I don't think we missed out on a whole lot. Like,
Yeah.
No, not much.
Yeah.
I don't. I feel like when I first got out of there and got back to the world, I was like, oh my God, what did I like miss out on? Like, I'm so like weird and different from everybody. But then, yeah, as time goes on, you're like,
You're like
no,
doing
we
this
didn't.
shit.
Yeah, yeah. You're like, and it was a weird time for many people, high school, no matter who you are or where you went or what you did. So
Yeah.
whatever.
And I
So
think there were parts of it were kind of simplified. Like, sometimes I wish that we had women around so we could try and like flirt and, learn those social skills. But at this other
yeah.
time, it's like, well, we never had any kind of drama, or we did have drama. We didn't have any kind of like heartbreak or, I don't know.
If they
This,
had had girls there, imagine though how regimented the flirting would be. You're like, this is how
Oh,
you
it would
do
be
it.
like, yeah, it would be like Victorian, like just glances and like
You must
looks
court
and
me.
like, yeah, walks around the pond, like, yeah,
Not
it
holding
would
hands.
be,
Yeah.
no, not at all. It
Yeah.
would
yeah.
be, I'm sure that exists somewhere.
I think we would have learned the opposite of flirting. Like that would have been worse for us to like get to practice at that time. Possibly.
Possibly. Yeah. I don't know.
Father
Yeah.
David Steffi watching from a distance, like
Hmm.
looks a little too
Oh
close,
God.
those two.
Uh, it's too much.
Did you
Yeah,
get good? Did you get good piety grades, Peter? Were you pretty good at that?
God, I forgot about that.
I did.
I think he did. Yeah. I think you were normally like a 9,
Yeah,
10
I feel
kind
like
of.
you were good. Like,
Yeah, I. It's funny. I was definitely, like, certainly at that school, I was like a straight. I mean, priority grades. Yeah, I think I did pretty well. And then school, I was like a straight A student.
okay.
And then it's funny, leaving there, I quickly realized, like, well, actually, when I left there and I did some university school in Michigan, and like, because I had no social life or anything, I also did really well there. But I think when I took a break from college and then went back, I just, I'm kind of skidding by on like, you know, on what I can submit at the last minute and stuff, which is just realizing that, like, uh yeah, I don't know if it was the no homework or just the no like other things in our lives, but it was like, oh, that's why high school was like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I was
But
majorly
yeah,
depressed in college. Yeah, I just like slept all the time after school. I could have had so much more fun in college, but I was kind of weird in college. I was still kind of coming out of it, I guess.
oh, I was weird for a long time after that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would still like, there's still like effects of it for sure, but
Absolutely.
definitely.
Yeah. Did you
But
so
yeah, No, you go ahead.
Did your degree you were pursuing change, or were you always pursuing the same degree?
That has like gone uh through a lot of phases for sure.
Okay.
My most recent thing is I'm working on this art practice degree, and taking some like ecology classes with it. And it's really cool. It really makes sense to me. Like I'm taking a sewing class right now. And that is just something that like I didn't know how to do a couple months ago. And now I'm just realizing like it completely makes sense to me. Like physical like learning is like uh just like visual stuff. It comes pretty naturally.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. I'm just kind of like maybe take a couple sculpture classes, learn how to like weld and stuff. And I don't know. I'm kind of like just doing it uh doing what like makes sense to me. And it's nice I'm on this program at Portland State, where I don't have to pay a lot for school. So that's really nice.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So now it's an
how about
art.
you?
You have an art. Sorry, you're going for an artistic degree now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty cool. I did a psych degree. I was just kind of, I was like, well, like I guess I still care about people, and I mean I still do. Like I would still think about being a therapist from time to time. But now I'm kind of doing more on the creative side, just like I'm working a full-time job. I finished my degree, so I'm just working a full-time job, and then on the side, I'm trying to do a lot of writing and comedy and singing and acting and just different
That's
stuff. This
super cool.
podcast, yeah,
That's sweet.
it's definitely like I find I'm happy when I'm self-expressing in some form. So I'm just trying to do more of that.
I think you did
That's
your
really
first.
cool.
You did your first stand up too in the
Yeah, I
past
did
2 weeks.
my first 5 minute set last week, and it went okay. The Travis Scott joke went okay, and so it was cool. Yikes!
Yeah,
It's a little dark.
Yeah. But anyways,
anyways,
anyways, that's really cool that you're like
thanks,
finding
man.
like ways to express yourself. Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah,
I
it's
wonder
been
too,
fun.
like how many of guys at the school, you know, were like we had the plays and just the whole like appeal of being like a priest is like getting up and talking. And
Yes.
Yeah.
like I feel like the core appeal of that thing was not bad. Like we were all like, yes, we want to be people who help other people,
Yeah.
who want to like, you know, that none of that was bad.
Right.
So I think it's interesting to like keep that in mind and to realize like, oh, like these like core desire or like you know, the things that appealed to us like are still good things, like for sure.
Yeah, man.
Psychology is cool. I had thought about studying it, but didn't. But
yeah, it is so interesting trying to parse the different experiences that were good from the bad, and like be able to recognize the nuance that we went through and not just be like, oh, it was all shit or it was all perfect. I tend to see a lot of ex-legionnaires who are one or the other. They're like, oh, it was all garbage, or oh my god, everything was amazing about it. And I prefer the nuanced approach myself. I know most of us on this podcast have, that we've had guests on. So because I do think it was good and bad.
Oh, absolutely. Like
Yeah, but like you say, the motivation for most of us, at least, was pretty good.
Yeah.
We wanted to
like
save souls and
yeah.
do coming back to that, and
eat some good food at Posada.
eat some good food. We had good food,
I will
man.
say I will say there were some fun memories for sure.
Yes.
Like, of the Posadas were great. I forgot about those a little bit. And that was fun.
They were cute.
That was good times.
Yeah.
They were cute.
We're supposed to have a Cucks for Christ Posada this year.
Let's do it.
I don't know what that's going to entail, but we're going to go for it.
Yeah, we'll meet at an Applebee's somewhere between everybody.
Just get drunk on
In
$5 martinis.
Nebraska.
Yeah, let's go to Omaha.
I'm down. I'm there.
Hell yeah, man.
I want to go somewhere where it's legal though.
When's your Peter? When are you going to graduate, or do you know yet?
It's like remains. I think if I like continue this year and then do next year, I should be good. So hopefully, it's weird. Yeah, it's very. I think I did a couple years of college when I was like, 17ish, and then I've already done like, I don't know. It's like, why? I feel like I've done another year here and there, and then it's like, why is it going to take me another 2 years? I'm not really sure.
The
But
weird
that's
how
what
the
it
credits
is.
are.
Yeah, and things that didn't count. Anyways, but yeah, it should be another couple years.
Yeah.
So I think that's my immediate like thing is like, okay, I'm gonna do that, and then
It's cool, man.
Yeah,
it's fucking cool. Do you have to work too, or are you able to like just focus on your studies? Or
yeah, but luckily I've just been doing like the restaurant job thing, so waiting tables, and that kind of fits in with school in the sense that it can be flexible and the tips can be pretty good, which which allows you to work less, and so yeah, it's not bad. I think post pandemic, I'm definitely taking it easier on myself in the sense that like before I was just like, full time work, full time school, like just going for it, and now I'm like, all right, we'll take 2 classes, we'll work a little less, like
nice.
Just gonna like kind of like, I mean, obviously do what I need to do, but I'm just gonna like
not rush to kill yourself.
No, like there's no need.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I think that's another perspective changer was the whole past year and stuff. Like it's been weird for everybody.
Yeah.
Just kind of like gives you some perspective on like what's important and like what, I don't know.
Yeah.
How has the pandy wandy been for you?
Me?
Yeah.
It sucked. It sucked for sure. I moved a bunch and like had weird dynamics with like different friendships, and like it was weird. It was I ended up moving back in with my family basically for a little bit, and then was like, what, we can't do this. So I was like, nope, this is not gonna work out. So then kind of went back out there and just like kind of based on whatever connections I had, like found a spot that ended up falling, or it lasted for a little bit, got kind of weird, had to move out of that house. But I've been where I'm living for like since January, and it's been good. Because I live with roommates, which is part of the reason I'm able to like go to school and like whatever, because apartments out here are just insane.
Yeah.
As I'm sure they are most places. But yeah, that necessity of like needing to live with people, and then early on in the pandemic being like, oh no, like I wish I could live by myself, but then like just being like, well, you can't do that. So then having to like bounce around a couple situations. But honestly, I feel pretty lucky. I've at least always had like an option, and I don't know. I feel I say it sucked, but like it could have been much worse, and I'm pretty grateful for like, I don't know, what I have. And how's it been for you guys? Like, oh, and then there was the whole like weird like isolating part where it's like people but like people you don't see anymore, and then it's like like I don't know, people I had like really close friends move out of town, move away, so that was like kind of just like, for some reason, like suddenly like all of my closest friends were just like that there was like a void, and then it was weird. And it kind of reminded me of right after leaving ICAS, in a little, not completely, but a little bit.
Yeah, just losing your friends, and
Yeah, that really sucks, man. hard.
Yeah, it was just strange, and then like after that it was just like realizing that a lot of other people had weird conflict, and people not wanting to like confront the conflict, and things just being left weird and up in the air. And I mean, and then people, I mean, I would say probably luckily I've just been single more or less, for certainly was like during the pandemic and right now, but or during like the start of it, I mean, but like people in relationships, like breakups and fucking all this kind of shit.
Yeah.
But what about you guys?
Yeah.
Single too.
Yeah. The pandemic was kind of, I don't know, it kind of sucked. I was at home for most of it, and then I just moved out in August to the biggest apartment in New York. No, I'm kidding. I can touch the wall almost behind me. But it was, like you said, it was kind of hard to hold friendships. Or I don't mean you didn't say that, but that's kind of what I gathered.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Because you couldn't go out with people. You couldn't do
Yeah.
anything. And no one wanted to go out for good reason.
Yeah.
So, I mean, 3 years later, and I feel like it's finally changing now, but I don't know.
Decades later.
A decade later.
Yeah.
I'd been dealing with a lot of self-doubt that I overcame recently, so that was kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
That is good. Because that's real. I mean, I feel like I had something similar also, like definitely during the pandemic, just a lot of like self-doubt and just like, yeah, just weirdness. And then when you kind of get over it, like,
yeah, it's like that light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Just walking towards it.
Oh, yeah. No, I know what you're talking about. I'm pretty sure.
Spencer, how's the pandemic been for you?
Well, I don't think Houston believes in the Rona, to be fair.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those cities. So, I mean, we just kind of haven't been super careful. I know that's not the case in New York or Pacific Northwest. I'm sure they're much more careful, but I mean, Houston, it feels like we've been done since the beginning of the year. Just no masks and, just like whatever.
Indoor events, just go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So, I mean, I didn't really have a bad time during the pandemic, to be completely frank. I was just by myself. Yeah, it sucks.
It sucks that you didn't have a bad time.
Yeah. Like I was with my family for like 2 months, which was actually really cool to like see all my siblings and stuff in one place for that long. It felt like getting time back with them, which was pretty special. And then once, work started up again last June, I think we came back to the office. Ever since then, it's kind of been making friends, I guess, and figuring out, I guess I kind of figured out this year that I'm all about being creative. So it gave me like career purpose. Still haven't figured out my love life at all, but I feel like that's probably going to be more of a process for me. So that's what it is. Yeah.
That's real. Definitely. I feel like personally on that note, like, yeah, I kind of on a break just from like any kind of, I don't know, relationship or dating even kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah.
Yeah, I was on a hiatus for a bit. But I'm looking to turn that around with some recent developments.
If anyone here is listening.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is James just putting it out there.
No, I have prospects that I'm working on.
Oh, nice.
So, that's awesome.
Yeah. But
oh gosh, how weird was the that made me remember of the vocation prospects.
Yeah, dude.
which was basically picking people that you barely knew and being like, I'm gonna write you letters.
Like it's like we're Victorian courting.
Yeah. Oh,
I
God.
do miss the
James, you might increase your chances with your prospects if you call them vocation prospects.
Yeah, just start writing them letters.
Yeah.
Like, can I get your address? I don't need your phone number. Your address. I'm gonna write you letters. And
that kingdom come on the top.
taking the lined paper and putting the yellow paper on top of it and writing.
Yeah. Please do it.
Writing your kingdom come in different languages.
That's awesome.
VTR. Throwing a little German.
Zach Greger texted me the other day, which was weird. Coincidence.
Yeah.
Like, no, yesterday, which is weird because are you guys in contact with him?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I was like, well, that's weird because I'm gonna talk to James tomorrow. But he texted me and like sent me a photo. He was like, oh, now I have 2 kids and halfway through a degree and like got married. And I was like, wow.
It's a lot.
I mean, I had sort of kept in contact with him, so I knew he got married. I didn't know he had 2 kids now.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he was gonna come out through New York, but then he had some interviews that came up last minute, and I was like, dude, don't worry about hanging out. Like, kill those interviews. We'll hang out later. But he, we text sporadically. His in-laws' parents, so his grandparents-in-law, live in Yorktown, which is where I grew up. So that was kind of weird to at the wedding we were or after the wedding, I guess. I ran into them before I left, and we were talking, and Britton, his wife, was like, wait, where do you live in New York? I'm like, oh, Yorktown. And she's like, oh, my grandparents live there. Like, oh, no way. Small world.
Do you live in Yorktown now?
No, I moved out. I live
Where
closer.
Do you live?
I live in Hastings, which is close to Yonkers, which is my favorite place to say.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, Yonkers.
Sure. Yonkers.
So I live like just north of the city now, like right outside the city, spitting distance. So there's
what?
No, nothing. I didn't have anything important to say.
Remember Christopher
O'Loughlin?
O'Loughlin, yeah.
Yeah. He's married too.
Oh, he's still around. I lost contact with a lot of people, I guess. But
I lost contact with him though. I should definitely reach out to him and be like, "What's up, Christopher?" Because he used to make up worlds in his head.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow, maybe he's a writer.
Like fantasy.
Yeah,
it's fucking cool.
Yeah,
like Game of Thrones type.
Yeah.
Sure.
He had way more intricacies though than George R. Martin did.
Wow.
Or whatever his name is. And I just remember on hikes he would go off and he would just start explaining his whole world. It's like, Chris, this is great, but you got to write this down.
Yeah, you're gonna.
Yeah. You know what else I didn't really like was how we couldn't talk to people in different grades than us.
Yeah, it's kind of shitty.
Yeah, I had a friend like Sean Smith. I remember we knew each other before that, but then we couldn't talk most of the time we went to school together.
Yeah,
because we weren't in the same age. I was like, what?
Only for 1 year. When we were juniors.
I feel like even then there was some weird maybe.
I mean, by that point it was like, you're more familiar with your own class.
Yeah.
And also
Peter, I feel like you and I did talk, even though we weren't in the same grade. I feel like I have memories of talking to you quite a bit. Maybe we were breaking silence all the time.
We talked. I remember you for sure. We chatted.
Weird.
We must. I think we were a grade apart. So yeah, I think we we're pre-candidates together or something.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think that's
that
what it was.
must
I
have
think it
been
was all from
why.
that pre-candidate year. From
No,
that one
I
year.
remember you. I remember you for sure. Yeah, we
Yeah.
definitely.
I remember you had
Oh.
lighter hair back then. I feel like you had lighter hair. Has your hair
Yeah, I
gotten
mean,
darker?
I'm sitting in the dark, but yeah, it's gotten
Yeah.
darker for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe also in the
Pretty
first when you were in 7th grade. Because you
Yeah.
would have been in section.
For sure.
You were in section B for the summer program,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah.
Spencer, were you there in 8th grade, or no?
No, I was there in 9th.
Oh, you were?
Friday.
Oh, okay.
I
I'm
think
getting
so.
that confused.
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You weren't in that first group. That was like
Right.
Jeremiah Gettler, Neil Baldwin.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember now. Man,
Yeah. I was in,
all those things.
Was I think I was an apostolic for a year. I feel like. Right.
Yeah, at least.
Okay. Good times.
Good times. Sledding.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sledding was sick.
Snowball fights were sick.
How we didn't get more injuries is beyond me. Like how people didn't break everything. Besides Patrick Trella, I can't think of any injuries. I mean,
Shout out Patrick Trella.
Remember when he like slammed his leg skiing? He like broke his like, I forgot what he broke.
Shit.
Like snapped his leg.
I remember him on crutches. That's for sure.
Yeah. I
do remember that.
Yeah.
He hit a rock or something.
Shit.
I think that's what happened. I don't know. We have to have him on the pod too.
Yeah,
so
cool.
He can relive that experience, a traumatic, life-changing experience he probably doesn't want to remember.
Amazing.
Anyway, do you have anything to plug? Like we're comedians or something.
Who, me?
Yeah. Do you have any shows coming up? Any?
No, I don't. I don't have anything. I don't have anything to plug. Nope. But
well, I think we're gonna end here.
Yeah,
for the pod.
That's probably a good. Yeah, that was a good. That was a good one. It's good to catch up with you guys, and honestly, yeah, it's cool to catch up as different people doing different stuff. Like, yeah.
On that note, this has been Cox for Christ.